Hi everyone, it's time for yoga this morning. I wanted to um, look at this week and practice together some breath practices. And it's not only about, of course, helping to change our posture, helping to relieve back pain and stress, hip pain and stress, and but it's also, of course, as you know, the quickest way to reset our nervous system and, well, maybe let's use the word interrupt our nervous system when we get stressed, tired, which often goes hand in hand with stress, anxious, sad, or worried, or even angry, upset. So breathing is this wonderful bridge between our conscious mind and our automatic systems in our body. You know, your heart gets racing, your blood gets pumping, your body gets flipped over into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And everybody just says, just relax, but it's so hard to do. So easier said than done. So breath work is a tool. It's really a wonderful, helpful thing. So it also talks to our muscles, as I mentioned, in terms of helping loosen up and even and balance. So we're going to start with some simple breath patterns and then maybe build from there. If you have bolsters around, blocks, blankets, always lots of props when we're trying to support our body, learning to relax. So we're going to start really gently with a child's pose variation. So go ahead and come to your mat. If you have a bolster lying around, even a couch cushion would really double for a bolster, would be wonderful. And you're going to separate your knees, widen your knees around that bolster, come forward and hug the bolster. Give it a nice embrace. If it's not comfortable, if the bolster doesn't meet your head, tightness in your hips, low back, knees, ankles can be responsible for that. You can build the bolster up. Make it a little bit higher. Even putting something between you and that bolster, a second bolster, can even help support your back more. And so often when we come down into a normal child's pose where we kind of drape ourselves down, you can see that my back is no longer actually kind of just simply flattening. It's actually kind of starting to sway and arch into that place where maybe I sway and sit into my spinal vertebra anyway during my day. So what we're trying to do here by building up the mat is to go in the other direction for our back. So reversing kind of this area where our back buckles by pushing up into our body. So that your breath can't really flow into your belly as much, can't really push or go or expand. It has nowhere to go but into your back body. Take a couple breaths. And maybe feel that resistance. If you normally, once you relax, you try to breathe into your belly, you feel like you can't really breathe there. There's nowhere to go. You can gently think of pulling the ribs together in the front, so a little abdominal work. And then on your next inhale, feel the breath. Even putting a hand here. Feeling the ribs expand. Feeling your breath relaxing and moving the space between the ribs and the vertebra. And if you think about moving a little more actively, start to pull as you exhale those ribs together in the front. So as I exhale and I pull my ribs in, you'll see my back get a little more puffy. I'll get a little bit more of that expansion as I inhale every time. And then press yourself up. So we often refer to the breath as deep, breathing deeply. And I wanted to work a little bit today on what does it mean to breathe deeply. So the next thing I want you to do is come onto your side. So again, this area where we're looking for a little bit more movement is right around kind of mid to lower rib cage and around into the back, right? It's a place where a lot of us are very stuck and our back muscles get very tight. Even the abdominal muscles for many people get really locked down, get very tight. And the muscles around the ribs, so the ribs get very tight. And then the only way that we can invite more space for the breath is to use other muscles that are not meant to be used for breathing. So muscles that lift your collarbones and your shoulders up in order to just move that rib cage, right? So when the muscles of respiration, the diaphragm and the muscles around the ribs and the back are not moving, then, and the abdominals are not expanding, then other things take over. So one of the best ways we can help ourselves is to feel that movement, right, as we breathe. So lie on one side. And this is just for feeling. If you make like a lobster claw, fingertips in the front, thumb reaches around the back. And I just want you to feel your ribs pushing up against your hand and then coming back down and in. If it feels like under your hand nothing's moving, it's just like your shoulder moving, then take your arm away or drape it down and try to focus, maybe hand in the front. When you think about those ribs, they're separating. We want that breath to kind of expand out. And then as the breath goes out of your body, the ribs kind of come together, like that accordion-like action. If you feel like you're particularly tight in your back, then tuck your knees closer to your chest. Come into that more like child's pose position. So your ribs are closing in the front and they're going to be more likely to open in the back. Keep breathing. Long, deep breaths. And come to lie on your other side. I do feel like the traditional yogic breathing is with your in and out through your nose. I do feel like that can sometimes restrict, right? We feel like we can't get a lot of breath in or a lot of breath out. So maybe open your mouth as you're trying to do this deeper breathing as you exhale. So again, I could lie just in a flat position. I could put my hand on my rib cage. Starting to try to feel how my body is moving out. And a little bit kind of up towards my head with those ribs. And then down and in. And if you know that you're tighter in your back, tuck your head and your knees a little closer together, a little ball shape. And so then you feel maybe a little more movement in the back ribs. not just the side. Good. And then finally we'll lower onto our backs. And this is another place to pad yourself to feel more comfortable. Again, if you're used to kind of sitting into that sway back posture, you have a lot of tightness in your back, you'll want to lift your legs up. So if a bolster isn't high enough, then my recommendation is to go ahead and put your legs up on a chair, right? Somewhere or even up on the wall. When your legs come towards you, you can see that they actually tilt my pelvis so my back comes down. Now this position would be a lot of work. We're looking for relaxing. So putting your shins or your calves up onto something, then you can relax into that position where your back is a little bit less likely to work and just feel more of that expansion in your breath. So as I mentioned, a bolster might be enough. It might not be enough to help you feel really relaxed. I do like to lift my head up just a little bit here. You know, that's part of that is just posture. When we tend to lean forward a lot, our that poor posture pattern, head forward, shoulders rounded, our neck gets tired. So as you lie on your back, right, it is a little bit harder to feel breath moving into your back. So the focus becomes more like all around. Can you feel your breath up here? Put your hands on your collarbones. For some, that'll be easy. And then can you feel that same ribcage accordion movement? Hands in the middle. And also go to your belly. Feel that puffiness, that widening, and recoil. And then wherever you want to keep your hands, but can you feel all three spots? And then place your hands on your belly. So we know that the diaphragm is here. It's this arch structure right underneath the rib cage, right, resting under your lungs. And this is partly why, I think that belly breathing is often promoted as the most relaxing breathing, the best breathing, right? It's not exactly the best though, because if our breath is only expanding and contracting in our belly, we can still have tightness and tension in our back, our abdominals, around our ribs, our neck and shoulders, and we're constantly loosening that abdominal wall, right? So it's not the best, but it is great for starting to feel the diaphragm move. Trying to reestablish that normal pattern where the diaphragm goes down when we inhale and comes back up, contracting up, it's weird, to push the breath out. Good, and then end by maybe hugging your knees up towards your chest, gently rocking, even happy baby pose might feel nice here. So the final piece of the puzzle for breathing, speaking of happy baby pose and legs being lifted, is getting our breath to not only expand in the torso, but expand to the bottom of the torso. So in yoga, we often refer to mula bandha, the contraction of the perineum, that binding, that lifting, which helps to support stronger work, more difficult, whether it's balancing or holding your body steady in a plank or downward facing dog or warrior two. That lift of the perineum is not meant to be held all day long though. So the perineum and the diaphragm are meant to have a flow where there's stretching in the inhale, stretching down, relaxing is what I mean by stretching, and then contraction coming up as you exhale. So the two go together, the diaphragm and the pelvis muscles. So if you were taking a couple of deep belly breaths, just say, and your belly is not really moving. So first you want to get, maybe you want to rub your belly a little bit, go into it with an eye towards relaxing. You can also do this with a ball massage or by releasing your deep hip flexors. Sometimes it helps. But if you still feel like, okay, I can feel my breath in my belly, it's at my belly button, but it doesn't go any lower, that's when we want to kind of open the angle of the pelvis. So whether you're opening your knees here, or you're coming into a squat, that of course depends on your knees and your hips and your lower back. So either way, I'm going to leave it up to you. And what I want you to practice here is feeling the breath descend on your inhale. That means relaxing the bottom part of the pelvis, your buttocks, and then between your buttocks, between your sit bones, those perineum muscles themselves. As you exhale, it's a gentle recoiling, coming back together, however you want to think of it, except not hardening, right? Just letting it gently come up. So inhale to relax, expand, soften. Exhale, natural recoil. When you're in happy baby pose, some people, if you have longer arms, you may be able to feel your sit bones. You may be able to kind of literally put your fingertips on them and kind of talk to your body, give it a little bit of feedback about relaxing in that area, those muscles in that area. And then just hug your knees gently to your chest, rock and roll from side to side, and come on up to cat and cow. So just putting it briefly into a little bit of a flow, a little bit of movement here. Inhale as you kind of feel that expansiveness of the breath. When I'm arching my back, I still don't want to be drooping. I want to be still expanding a little bit into my back body, down to the belly, the diaphragm, down to the pelvic floor, and up into my chest. Exhale, contract the core. The sit bones go down the back of the legs, tailbone under, belly up. Round shoulders, strong back. And exhale. I'm still going with that inhale through my nose. Exhale through the mouth. Good, and then come to a seat. And sitting up higher is often a great way of course, unlocking your pelvis, right? Whether you find yourself tucking under and kind of slumping, which is what I do when I sit, Or you find yourself kind of arching, kind of compelled to come forward too far and sitting into your back, the vertebra kind of crunching and compressing, and the back muscles tightening. Just kind of having your hips up a little bit higher. If you look from the side, you can feel like you can go in both directions, and then gently find that happy medium where you're in the center, and it's, Jack Kornfield says, it's a dignified posture without being rigid. So you're upright. Often it's a big leap for our muscles to hold, but still find some of that flow and relaxation. It's hard, it's difficult, in other words, to sit here, to have a tall posture, but to not be rigid, to still have some expansion. So the remembering the way you practiced on your side when you were supported, on your back when your legs were held, in child's pose when your belly was held and you could feel your back moving. And so we'll end with a more controlled practice of the breath, known as samavriti. Same pause is what those words mean. The same duration for the time and the space of your breathing. So we're going to start with something a little bit more or less normal for many people. We're going to start with 4 counts, inhaling, and 4 counts as you exhale. So once again, soften. Belly, ribs, chest moving. Start to inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Again and again. Inhale and exhale. Can you stretch it longer? And then last of all, the pause. At the top of your inhale, stay. And then exhale. And then stay. Breathe in again. And stay. Breathe out. And let it go. You remember that expansiveness you felt when lying on your back, or your belly, or your knees. That lack of holding on. Hands coming to rest at your heart. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we live with more ease and more peace throughout our day. See if you can capture this feeling, my friends, in the next couple of breaths. Maintaining isn't the right word for it, but yes, like returning or interrupting whatever it is, the stress or the thought patterns or tightening patterns in our body with a couple of those deep breaths. And sometimes it's only a couple that it takes to kind of help our nervous system, our brain kind of reset, move back into our lives with a little bit more presence, a little bit less frantic feeling and tension. Hopefully this helps you, and namaste. Have a wonderful day today. Stay cool, my friends. Bye-bye.